Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress. Only 66 days till the World Championship match between Carlsen and Caruana will take place. Less than 10 weeks. It will all start then on November 9th in London in the UK. And on Chess to Impress we continue the build-up, the countdown towards the biggest event of the year. Carlsen-Caruana will be the 47th match in the history of the official and undisputed World Championship. And on Chess to Impress we look at the first 46 events. And this is number 14. We see that Alexander Aljochin became the 4th world champion by beating Capablanca in 1927. 2 years later he successfully defended his world title against Efim Bogoljubov. And as you can see, 5 years later he played the same opponent. How did that come about? In the meantime, new candidates for the world title had arrived on the chess scene. Reshevsky and Fine from the US, Keres from Estonia, Botvinnik from the Soviet Union, Floor from Czechoslovakia and Eure from the Netherlands. And also Capablanca was looking for a rematch and Nimzowitsch was waiting for his chance to play for the world title, but nobody could come up with the funding. But one man could come up with the funding. And the announcement that there would be a rematch with Bogoljubov was not received well in the chess world. Kasparov in the series My Great Predecessors writes, Bogoljubov undoubtedly was a convenient opponent for Aljochin. It looks like Aljochin was avoiding stronger opponents to make sure he would retain his world title. The match was held in Germany in several cities. It was again over 30 games and 6 wins. Aljochin wrote himself in My Best Games of Chess 1924 to 1937, after he analyzes one of the games. He says, this game, more than any other, proves how useless from the sporting point of view was the arrangement of this second match, and at the same time explains my indifferent play on a number of occasions. So even Aljochin recognized that Bogoljubov was not the strongest opponent he could have chosen. Here we see both players, Bogoljubov on the left and world champion Aljochin on the right. Let's look at the second game from this match, played on the 4th of April 1934. Aljochin was white and Bogoljubov was black. The world champion opened with d4, knight f6, c4, c6, and we see a Slav defense. e3 and e6. The alternative is bishop f5 to put the queen's bishop outside of the pawn chain. But Bogoljubov chose e6. The bishop gets developed, the knight gets developed. Knight c3 and black takes. Bishop takes, black kicks the bishop back and plays a6 with the idea of c5. Aljochin castled, there comes c5, a4, b4, and this knight now goes on a journey through e4 to d2 and will end up on c4, as we'll see. Bishop b7, this variation of the Slav has stood the test of time as it's still played nowadays, 84 years later. The knight continues its journey to c4, bishop gets developed, a5 and Bogoljubov castled. There comes the knight to that nice square, queen c7, queen e2 and knight g4. Here knight c to d2 was played in a number of modern day Grandmaster games, but Aljochin goes for the more logical e4, pushes in the center. Black took on d4, and you should not take the pawn back because of a very obvious refutation, namely checkmate on h2. The world champion did not fall for that. He played h3, kicking the knight back, knight ge5, and now knight takes d4 is still a bad move, because then black will take on d3, queen takes and rook a d8 with a big advantage for black. He will play knight c5, pinning the knight on d4, attacking the pawn on e4 as well when the knight is on c5, and also this knight on c4 is somewhat loose. Very good position for black. So knight takes d4 here is still not good, and Aljochin recognized that and he took on e5. Knight takes back and bishop f4, pinning the knight. Bishop d6 from Bogoljubov, and another pair of pieces was traded. knight b6, hitting the rook. And here rook a d8 gives white the chance to win the pawn back with bishop takes a6, bishop takes, queen takes, and then d3 is the best move with chances for both sides. The position is very sharp. Both players have passed pawns on the board. But Bogoljubov did not play rook a d8, he played rook a7, keeping the pawn on a6 firmly protected. Rook ac1. Queen was attacked, queen goes to d6, and rook c4. f5, a very sharp move from black, and it doesn't work out as planned. He's trying to open up the diagonal for this mighty bishop. E takes f5, e takes f5, and rook e1. Now this piece is hanging, it's attacked with two pieces, only defended by the queen. And black plays queen g6 with a counter threat. Of course you cannot take that piece now, because there's another checkmate in one on the board. So after queen g6, Alekhine played f3 to deal with the checkmate threat. And now you have to do something about this bishop that is attacked twice. Bishop f6, saving that bishop and saving the pawn on d4, keeping that pawn protected, is not good for black, because then there is knight d7, attacking the rook. And if the rook goes to d8, there is queen e6 check, white's pieces flooding black's position. Queen f7, knight takes f6 check, g takes, and queen b6. And if you look at this position, black's army is totally uncoordinated, while all white's pieces are ready to enter black's position. So what else to do after f3? Bishop g3 or bishop d6 would have kept the position in the balance. But Bogoljubov played a bad one. He played rook e8. It looks logical, protecting that bishop, but it doesn't work. f4 comes, pinning the bishop, and the queen is defending against a checkmate. But it's a very complicated position, lots of tactics. Black played queen g3, and white took the piece. Black took back. It looks like black is okay, as white cannot take the rook. If you take the rook, it's checkmate again. And also, black is threatening queen takes e1. He's attacking that rook twice. So it looks like white is in trouble. But the refutation is quite elegant. Rook c8 check was Alekhine's move, which he must have seen a number of moves before. The idea is that it deflects the bishop, because if you take the rook, then white can take on e5. Queen takes, rook takes, and if we count the pieces, white has an extra piece, and black's two pawns are no real compensation. For the moment the bishop is hanging, and bishop b7 is a bad move. It has a nice refutation of bishop c4 check, and if the king goes to f8, then knight d7 is checkmate. This is a very beautiful checkmate. So after rook c8 check, you cannot take the rook, and Bogoljubov played king f7. But now white is going to hunt down black's king. Queen h5 check. All white's move will go with check, so that black has no time to give checkmate on g2. g6, queen takes h7 is check, king f6, the rook gives check, and if you go to e6, then it's mate in one with queen d7. So Bogoljubov went to g5, then h4 is the only winning move, very nice move. If you take, then queen takes, king takes, and rook takes e5 with a hat full of extra material for white. So after h4 check, the king went to f4, another check. If you interpose the queen, it's checkmate on the next move. This is checkmate, and g5 was played by Bogoljubov. It did not help him, because rook takes f5 check is one of the ways to win. Very nice move. Rook takes, queen d6 check, king g4, and the last move of the game, bishop takes f5 check. Here Bogoljubov resigned. If you take the bishop, then your queen is unprotected. You can take the queen, but you can also checkmate black a little bit quicker with queen e6 check, and then king f4, queen e5 check, king g4, and this is checkmate. If after bishop takes f5 check you do not take the bishop, but you play king takes h4, then it's checkmate on h6. This is also a very nice picture, very nice checkmating pattern. That was game 2, and as you can see, Alekhine took the lead 1.5 against a half, and he won the match. After 26 games he had reached the 15.5 points. He also had reached the 6 games that he needed to win. He won 8 of them and lost only 3. A very convincing defense of his world title by world champion Alexander Alekhine. And this time the chess world had to wait only 1 year for the next world championship match, which was Alekhine defending his world title against a Dutchman, Max Euwe. And that's what the next video is about. Hope you like this video and that you're enjoying the series of the countdown towards the Carlsen-Caruana match. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will make sure I reply. If you like the video and like the series, it would be great if you could share the video on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.